Good afternoon. May we request everyone to rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, to be followed by our opening prayer. Dear God, thank you for this opportunity to meet together. Come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Good afternoon. We would like to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's orientation on the recognition of public and private child development centers offering early childhood programs for children ages 0 to 4. Before we formally start our program, we'd like to greet our guests from the different cities and municipalities from Southern Luzon. Feel free to click on any reaction button to show how you're feeling today. So let's begin with Region 4A, our friends from Calabarzon. Welcome. From Region 4B, Mimaropa Region, welcome po. And lastly, from the Bicol Region, Marhay na hapon. Welcome po sa lahat ng child development workers and teachers, ECCD practitioners both from public and private, and the local officials from Health, Nutrition, and Social Welfare Division. Last but not the least, we also have participants who are parents and caregivers. We warmly welcome everyone. We also acknowledge the presence of our OIC, Sir Romel Isip. And also, before I forget, for the whole month of March, we recognize and celebrate all women and women's rights. And we recognize the importance of raising awareness about the challenges women face around the globe. So, to all the women out there, we salute you. Okay. Before anything else, let me introduce myself. I will be your host, Jolly Yao, your Program Development Officer 2 from the Programs and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. To officially welcome us with her opening remarks, we have with us our Senior Program Advisor. Please welcome Dr. Teresita Inchong. Good afternoon, Dr. Inchong.
Thank you, Jolly. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you all on this online national orientation on ECCD standards and guidelines for center-based programs from 0 to 4 years old, and also the guidelines for recognition, registration, granting of permit, and recognition to child development centers and learning centers. Our mandate is embedded in the 10-4-10, known as the earlier SAC of 2013. It is our responsibility to promote the rights of children to survival, development, special protection with full recognition of the nature of childhood, as well as the need to provide developmentally appropriate experiences. We all agree that the child is one of the most important assets of our country. Therefore, every effort should be exerted to promote his welfare and enhance his opportunities for a useful and happy life. And as duty bearers and ECCD advocates, we have our own very critical and important roles to play in preparing them for a future. This country has been badly affected by pandemic, climate changes, environmental degradation, armed conflict, and other calamities, which resulted in a lot of crises, of which is among them is the educational crisis or the learning loss. This learning loss will be further aggravated in the long run if we will not address a more impending problem, which is the developmental loss in our children, particularly those whose brains are currently developing, belonging to the 0 to 4 years old. We all know that at 4 years old, after 4, 90% of the brain has been developed. This is also due to the prolonged lockdowns and inaccessibility to quality ECCD programs and services. And according to the study of the UNESCO, UNICEF, and the World Bank, the most hit by our learning loss are the children in the 0 to 4. And recognition of this critical age and stages of development of our young children, it is our duty, our means you and us, to provide quality ECCD programs and services, which are both rights and issue and foundation for development. Quality ECCD shall promote the delivery of integrated programs and services on health, nutrition, early education, and psychosocial services. Having said this, putting this mandate into action requires an intergovernmental collaboration and multi-sectoral efforts from all ECCD stakeholders, both public and private. Let me reiterate and emphasize that we are talking of collaboration for all stakeholders, considering that ECCD is actually a collaborative effort in nature and shared responsibility. We will be together, we can be stronger in providing a more robust opportunity for our children. So we are encouraging our dedication, commitment, and hard work in ensuring that these integrated services will be available and provided for our young children 0 to 4. When I mean all, including those with disabilities, those in vulnerable, those at high risk, those in armed conflicts, and those especially with developmental delays. We hope that this orientation on the quality ECCD standards and guidelines, we will put a stop to all your questions. And I know that at the end, we will be clarify all issues and that will contribute to the achievement of our common goal. That is to provide a basic holistic needs for young children, promote their optimum growth and development, and eventually secure the hope for our future of our nation. In the end, quality education shall be translated as an outcome for that all children, at every child, shall be physically fit, competently sound, socially, I'm sorry. In the end, that we are looking for a child that is physically fit, socially and emotionally sound, and ready to learn. Sa huli, tayo rin ang nakataya. Kasi tayo may obligasyon para ipagpatuloy natin ang ating nasimulan. Madami na tayong pinagdaanan, pero nandito pa rin tayo kasi mayroon tayong misyon. Ang ating profesyon ay hindi lang isang hanap buhay, kundi ito ay isang misyon. May bago kaming tagline, sinasabi natin na Batang Pilipino, batang may bukas. At kasama tayo lahat para bigyan ng magandang kinabukasan ng mga batang ito. You can translate that in your own word, but that is the essence. Bawat batang Pilipino ay batang may bukas. Maraming salamat po sa pakikipagtulungan ninyo at naway pagpalain tayong may kapal. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much for that warm, welcoming message, Dr. Inchong. So on that note, I believe that everyone's ready for today's orientation. Just a little reminder before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, kindly type them in the chat box in your Zoom or on our Facebook page. There will be time for questions after the presentation of our two speakers for today. So without further ado, let us welcome our first presenter, Sir Carl Sabalza, our Planning Officer 3 from the Programs and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. He will explain about the standards and guidelines for our center-based early childhood programs, followed by the guidelines on the recognition of both public and private child development centers offering early childhood programs for children 0 to 4 years.
Good day everyone. Since madami po tayong mga concerns regarding the recognition and accreditation of our child development centers and learning centers, the ECCD Council initiated a national orientation on the standards and guidelines in ECCD. So for this day, the outline of our discussion will focus on the quality standards in ECCD, wherein we will talk about the rationale and the legal basis. We will also discuss for our second session the standards and guidelines for center-based ECCD programs for 0 to 4 years old and its guideline for registration, granting of permit to operate, and also the recognition. Then we will discuss the goal, the development process, the different areas, the guidelines, and also the implementation scheme. But before that, let's talk about why quality standards. Why is it important? Sabi po dito, providing quality in our standards in ECCD is both a right issue of young children and foundation of their development. So there are two things. First is the right issue. Karapatan po ng mga bata na magkaroon sila ng magandang. Good day everyone. Since madami po tayong mga concerns regarding the recognition and accreditation of our child development centers and learning centers, the ECCD Council initiated a national orientation on the standards and guidelines in ECCD. So for this day, the outline of our discussion will focus on the quality standards in ECCD, wherein we will talk about the rationale and the legal basis. We will also discuss for our second session the standards and guidelines for center-based ECCD programs for 0 to 4 years old and its guideline for registration, granting of permit to operate, and also the recognition. Then we will discuss the goal, the development process, the different areas, the guidelines, and also the implementation scheme. But before that, let's talk about why quality standards. Why is it important? Sabi po dito, providing quality in our standards in ECCD is both a right issue of young children and foundation of their development. So there are two things. First is the right issue. Karapatan po ng mga bata na magkaroon sila ng maganda, hindi lang ng basta-basta pag-aaral, but yung maganda, yung may kalidad. But isa din po sa gusto nating isulong dito, the reason why we had this document is that we want to provide foundation for their future. If we want to prepare them na maging competitive sila, maging productive sila in the future, maganda na nag-i-invest na tayo ng maaga, lalo na dun sa kanilang foundational stage and age. Okay? And also, sabi ito, quality early education helps prepare young children for success in school and later in life. So, what quality looks like? So in NAEYC, this is the National Association of Educators for Young Children. This is based in New York. So association po siya ng mga educators. For them, they describe ECCD program with high quality as a safe and nurturing environment. Very simple lang din, sabi nila, safe dapat and nurturing environment. When we talk of safety, hindi lang po ito nakafocus on the physical environment, but also considering yung affective environment wherein yung bata, kaya nilang maging totoong bata na pwede silang maglaro, pwede silang mag-explore, and also they can express their emotions freely. If they want to cry, if they want to get angry. So, dapat yung environment nila safe sila sa ganun. At the same time, syempre nurturing. Pinaprocess natin sa kanila, tinutulungan natin yung mga bata para i-process yung kanilang emotions, para maintindihan nila kung anong nararamdaman nila. So, sabi, if we have this kind of environment, it will help promote yung kanilang physical, social, emotional, and cognitive development. Sabi, if we have this program, it will greatly affect yung kanilang development, depende kung paano hinahandle ito ng mga teachers, not just teachers also, but the service providers, even other stakeholders na involved in the development ng mga bata. So, before we continue with this discussion, I'd just like to share with you this quotation. This is by Gabriela Mistral. Sabi niya dito, "We are guilty of many things, many faults, but our worst crime is abandoning the children, neglecting the fountain of life. Many things we need can wait. The child cannot. Right now, the time his bones are being formed, his blood are being made, and his senses are being developed. To him we cannot answer tomorrow. His name is today." We need to act immediately. Kasi habang tumatagal yung panahon, habang nagkakaedad yung mga bata, medyo nababawasan na yung opportunity na maibigay natin sa kanila at matulungan natin sila na mag-develop dun sa optimum level ng development. Okay? And now, tingnan natin, ano ba yung legal basis why we have this document? Basically, it's from our mandating RA 10410. So, the Early Years Act of 2013. It says here, in Section 3, our objective, the national ECCD system shall pursue the following objective. First, to upgrade and update capabilities of service providers. So, it's our mandate na kung ano yung existing natin na standards na sinusunod natin for early development, kailangan natin siyang i-upgrade and kailangan natin i-update. The reason why we want to upgrade itong mga programs na to, mainly because nag-i-evolve din yung bata. Yung generation ngayon, hindi na natin sila pwede i-compare doon sa dati. Hindi na natin sila pwede sabihin na ganito kami noon, nung mga bata kami, titigan mo lang, okay na, di ba? Matatakot na, susunod na sa'yo. Ngayon, kahit anong gawin mong titig sa bata, naku, walang reaction. Minsan ikaw pa tititigan nila o kaya pagtatawanan ka pa nila. So, gusto natin na yung standards natin nakasunod din ano ba yung appropriate for children. That's why ina-upgrade natin siya and also ina-update din natin siya. Ano ba na yung mga current na appropriate talaga for children. So that's why even our standards isinunod din po natin nun. And also, we want to improve the quality of our public and private. Isa din po to sa kaya tayo nag-update ng ating standards kasi before nakafocus lang tayo sa public and 3 to 4 years old lang yung kino-cover natin. But right now, our responsibility for 0 to 4 covers the public and the private ECCD programs. Okay, so that is basically our mandate. So because of that, we developed these two documents. First is the Standards and Guidelines for Center-Based Program, and the other one is the Guideline on Registration and Granting of Permit and Recognition to our centers. So pag-usapan muna natin, ano ba yung goal ng development nito? Very simple lang yung goal. It's to promote quality early childhood experience. So that's the goal of these two documents. So ano yung objective natin for having these two documents? First, if meron tayong i-develop or magpuput up pa lang tayo ng center or we're planning to build another child development center, maganda siya na guide kasi dito makikita nyo na from its different areas ano yung mga checklists na kailangan ko i-consider, ano yung mga dapat kong i-prepare, ano ba dapat yung physical structure, paano ko i-manage yung center, ano yung ibibigay ko na program for children, ano pa yung other considerations ko. So everything makikita na po natin dito. And since meron tayong indicators for that, ito na rin yung pwede natin gamitin na monitoring tool, self-monitoring tool. Kasi habang meron ka ng ongoing program, makikita mo na dito na tama ba yung ginagawa ko in terms of securing yung outdoor facility ko? Tama ba yung mga equipment na meron ako? Yung loob ng center ko, yung arrangement ng mga gamit ko, tama ba yung pagkaka-arrange niya? So, kahit may existing ka ng program, itong document na natin to, you can use this para mag-guide sa'yo, para magsabi sa'yo, ano yung kailangan kong i-improve. Since ito na rin yung standards and guidelines natin and we have specific indicators, ito rin yung ginamit nating reference for the assessment. So, pag nag-accredit tayo, like the term that we're using before, and now it's recognition, so while evaluating the centers, ito na rin yung tinitingnan natin isa-isa. So, we have the same standards, we have same guideline, we have same indicator doon sa ating assessment tool. Yeah. And now, for the development process of the standards, so we started with documentary analysis. During the documentary analysis, we gathered different standards and guidelines from different countries. So we have from Finland, from Singapore, Western countries. So ginather po lahat itong iba't ibang mga documents ito. Ano-ano nga ba yung mga standards in terms of addressing the needs of children, particularly yung very young children, yung 0 to 4 years old, yung iba 0 to 8, yung iba 0 to 6. So all these documents were gathered. Tinignan ano yung mga different na mga guidelines din para ma-ensure that we are developing or providing quality programs. And then, after the documentary analysis, we had a workshop kung saan we write ano yung mga standards that is appropriate for Filipino children. Same thing, nagkaroon din ng workshop to develop the guidelines. After the development, nagkaroon po ng consultative workshop. So during the consultative workshop, we invited all the members, the technical working, who will be the technical working group ng development nito from the different agencies na member po ng ECCD. So we invited from the Department of Education, from the Department of Health, the National Nutrition Council, the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines. We also have from the Department of Social Welfare and Development, and syempre representative from the ECCD Council. Aside from those members, we invited also experts from academe, yung mga practitioners po ng ECCD. And again, we also involve yung mga local government unit representatives. So from the provincial to the city, municipal, child development workers and teachers, and then the MS and CSWDOs. So, nagkaroon po ng mga consultative workshop. And then, after nung consultative workshop, yung result po nun, ginamit to modify and edit the documents. And then, we had the validation of these two documents. So, kinonvene uli itong mga different agencies and personalities para magkaroon ng validation and to review again all the standards, the guidelines, and the indicators. And then, after the review, we revised it again, and then after the revision, it was submitted to the different members of the governing board for final review and approval. So, ito na po yung na-approve. In 2015 ng September, the ECCD Council, through a board resolution, approved this document. So, ito yung sinasabi natin na una, the standards and guidelines for center-based early childhood program for 0 to 4 years old Filipino children. Ayan, I'll show yung other document. But first, tingnan muna natin, ano yung nandito sa document. Ito yung sinasabi natin na areas. Ito yung titingnan natin, ito yung sinasabi natin na mag-guide sa atin. So we have the area on health, nutrition, and safety. We have physical environment and safety. Then the interaction and relationship between staff, children, and among children and other adults. We also have staff qualification, development, and continuing education. And then curriculum, instruction, and assessment. The family involvement and community linkages. And lastly, leadership program management and support. So pag tinignan po natin, when we talk of health and nutrition, ito yung tinitingnan natin. The program promotes health, nutrition, and safety of infants, toddlers, and young children through the education of center staff and parents who are responsible for the implementation. Pag tinignan ninyo, hindi lang po siya nakafocus sa 3 to 4. Tinitingnan rin natin dito yung infant and toddlers. And also the involvement not just of the service providers in the centers, but also we include parents kasi sila talaga yung responsible of implementing itong mga health and nutrition practices. Hindi lang kasi dapat sa center, but also sa bahay para talagang ma-ensure natin na magiging healthy and magiging well-nourished yung ating mga bata. Okay? Next is physical environment and safety. So the CDC has an outdoor play and classroom environment that are safe and accessible to young children, including those with special needs, with appropriate and sufficient facilities. Pag tinignan nyo po itong standards na to and all the indicators here, tinitingnan din natin kung meron tayong provision so that our center will be inclusive. Our center will be accessible to other children na may mga disability or other needs, may special needs. Okay? Next, we have the interaction and relationship between staff and children, among children and other adults. Dito titingnan natin is kamusta yung sinasabi natin na affective environment. Kamusta yung ipinakikita ng ating mga service providers, particularly our child development teachers, child development workers, the teacher aide, yung mga volunteers. Kamusta sila? Nanonourish ba nila yung bata? Yung values ba na gusto natin i-inculcate sa kanila, na we-witness ba nila sa atin? So very important na tinitingnan din natin tong area na to kasi napakahalaga nung kung ano yung nakikita, di ba usually kung ano yung nakikita ng mga bata, yan yung minimimic nila, yan yung ginagaya nila. So importante na may tamang gabay yung ating mga service providers kung ano yung paano nila ikinocompose yung sarili nila, lalo na pag nandun sila sa mga centers nila. Yan. And then we also have the staff qualification, staff development, and continuing education. So dito tinitingnan na kamusta yung qualification. Pag tingnan nyo, there is a qualification for child development teacher, may qualification for child development worker, meron din for teacher aide, for volunteers, and other staff and management part, meron din dyan. Tinitingnan natin ano ba yung qualification. Kasi nga, sabi natin, we want to provide quality program. So, dapat yung capacity, yung kakayanan, yung knowledge din ng ating mga service providers, may quality din. And, hindi na siya natitigil doon. Part of this area, dapat may pinoprovide din tayo na continuous na professional development plan. So, tinitingnan dito, ano ba yung mga trainings, ano ba yung mga capacity building na kailangan makuha ng isang service provider in the sector. Next is our curriculum instruction and assessment. Ito, pag tinignan ninyo, there's no particular na curricula na sinasabi. Dito, tinitingnan lang na dapat appropriate siya for Filipino children and also it's based on the early learning development standards na validated for Filipino children. So, yan lang yung tinitingnan natin dito. Dapat yung curriculum na meron kayo, whether you're a private or a public, appropriate siya dun sa bata. Depende sa kanyang age, depende sa kanyang development, depende dun sa stage kung nasaan ang bata ngayon. Yun yung tinitingnan dito sa indicator na to, or sa standard na to. And next, we have the family involvement and community. Kasi we believe na yung bata, di ba, hindi lang naman siya nabubuhay bahay center, ganyan. And most of the time nga, nasa bahay. So that's why it's very important that we involve the family, particularly the parents. So, dapat yung center, we promote yung harmonious relationship and build strong collaboration, working relationship with stakeholders towards effective delivery of programs and services. So, dapat even the community, masasabi talaga natin that it's really a safe space and safe place for our children in terms of development. And lastly, we have the leadership program management and support. Dito kasi tinitingnan natin, unang-una, sino ba yung committee or the composition who will ensure that we will deliver quality program? Who will ensure na there will be a comprehensive plan in terms of addressing the needs, in terms of planning, and providing programs and services na kailangan ng isang bata. At the same time, tinitingnan din natin dito na dapat yung programa is sustainable. Okay? So those are our 7 areas. Pag tinignan ninyo in this areas, for each of the area, may tagi-tagi-isa siyang standard. There's a written standard. And then, several guidelines and indicators, sub-indicators. Itong mga indicators na to, these are like specific checklist na pwede mong basahin, pwede mong tingnan, mga things that you need to consider and also you need to put in place pagka nag-put up ka ng center or pag nag-assess ka for improvement of your center. This is the second document. And now, for the second session, ito yung sinasabi ko po na document 2. So, we will focus on the guidelines on the registration and granting of permit and recognition to public and private CDCs and LCs. Yan. Same po ito na naipasa din noong September together with the standards and guidelines. So, in this document, makikita natin dito yung introduction, syempre, then the goal and the objectives of the guideline, the process of registration, then yung granting of permit, and then, ang maganda po dito, nasa appendices na po, yung mga template na kailangan nyo po in terms of certificate, yung mga forms, information sheet, worksheet. So, you can find everything in this document. So, here's the process. Basically, ang process natin, registration. When we talk of registration, pareho po. We register the public or even yung mga old na child development centers natin, i-register natin to. At the same time, kailangan din mag-register ng mga private child development centers offering programs for 0 to 4 years old. Anong purpose ng registration natin? The purpose of registration is para ma-map natin ilan na nga ba ang centers in our community or in our locality. Kasi para na-address din natin, minsan kasi nagkakaroon tayo ng gap with the data. Nakakala natin, mababa lang yung nasa serbisyohan natin ng programa, particularly on the center-based programs for 0 to 4. Akala natin mababa yung number. Pero kasi, minsan hindi natin na ma-map ilan nga ba yung mga bata na naka-enroll sa mga private centers. So, this is very important na ma-map po natin siya. Okay? Next, once registered, they need to secure permit to operate. Pero sino po ang magsisecure ng permit to operate? Those lang po na nasa private. Again, yung mga private centers or learning centers offering programs for 0 to 4, kailangan nilang mag-secure ng permit to operate. Saan po sila mag-secure ng permit to operate? So, the private CDC-LC applies permit to operate with required documents where? Sa office po ng mayor through the City Municipal Social Welfare Development Office. So, once nakapag-file na sila ng permit to operate, isasubmit po ito sa mayor for inspection. And then, pag nakapag-comply sila, magbibigay po ng certificate to operate for 3 years. Sino mag-i-issue? The local government unit will issue a permit to operate once compliant po yung ang ating private center. But for those na who will fail to comply, temporary permit to operate lang for 1 year. And then the CDC or the LC must comply with the lacking requirements po within that period of 1 year. Kung hindi sila makapag-comply, so, back to square one again. Okay. So, yeah. Now, after that, 3 years after, for private po 3 years after, pwede na silang ask for recognition, yung process for recognition. The term recognition, ito po yung ginagamit natin doon sa process before ng accreditation. just to provide you with a brief background bakit po recognition ay ginagamit natin. During the time na pinaprocess po ito, it was presented to the Secretary of the Department of Education, which is the chair back then, so si Secretary Armin Luistro. According to him, it's not proper to use the term accreditation kasi in the academe or other institution, once you're accredited, you receive incentives. But in our process of accreditation, wala tayong binibigay na incentive. That's why sabi niya, it's safe to say or to use the term recognition. Kaya nung maipasa po ito, hindi ginamit yung term na accreditation, but rather we use the recognition. Okay? And sana malinaw po yun to all of us. Now, here's the process of recognition. Sige, tingnan natin. The CDC-LC recognition process, first, letter of intent for recognition by the mayor addressed to the ECCD Council through the DSWD Regional Office or the Field Office 3 years after permit to operate. So, let me clarify that. Sabi, 3 years after permit to operate. So, again, this is for private learning centers or child development centers lang. But for the public, if you're ready or nag-expire na or nag-lapse na yung effectivity nung accreditation before or the recognition, if you use the recognition, pag nag-lapse na yung validity niyan, pwede na po siyang i-file again for recognition. Saan po natin ipapadala? Again, it should be through the field offices. Kung nasaan yung inyong local government unit. So for this recognition, we have two processes. So first is the internal assessment for 3 months. So internal assessment, basically, ang ibig sabihin po nito is yung preparation of your center. Your own center, yung hinahandle mong center. Sino yung composition? For public internal assessment team, you have the child development teacher or the child development worker na nag-handle mismo nung center. And then the barangay captain, the barangay nutrition scholar, the barangay health worker, and then the president of Parent Teachers Workers Association. Bakit ito yung composition ng public internal assessment? Kasi nga po, pine-prepare nila yung center para sa evaluation. So dito, andyan yung involvement ng barangay kasi pag tinignan nyo dun sa leadership and management, in terms of planning, in terms of budgeting, ang makakapagsabi niyan is the barangay. And then yung health and nutrition din, ang makakapagsabi niyan, yung mga barangay health worker, yung barangay nutrition scholar, sila yung makakapagsabi or makapagbibigay ng ibang documents. Kaya pag tinignan ninyo, ito yung sinasabi natin kasi all of them, magtutulong-tulong po sila para i-prepare yung center before the evaluation. Same with the private internal assessment team. The difference is, manggagaling din sa loob ng center nila or ng school nila. So the administrator or the director or the principal and then the child development teacher, then the member of the board and the president of Parent Teacher Workers Association. So once na mag-comply sila, assess sila, this is like a self-assessment. Once they comply, pwede na silang magdiretso to external assessment. They'll just inform the field office of the DSWD that they're ready for external assessment. But for those who will not comply or may mga lacking documents, bibigyan sila ng 6 to 12 months or depende before the before the year ends. So, para i-comply yung mga deficiencies nila with documents, practices, and kung ano man yung hinihingi na indicator. So, ito po yun. The mayor informs that they are ready for external assessment. And the external assessment for 3 days. Ang team po dito, we have the deputized regional, provincial, social welfare and development officers as head of the team. Sino ang magde-deputize sa kanila? So, may mga trainings tayo na pinoprovide for external evaluators. So, may mga trainings na initiated by the DSWD. So, there are external evaluators that tinrain nila. Meron din mga external evaluators na tinrain din ng ECCD Council. Pero ito po, iisa lang yung nag-i-issue ng Certificate of Proficiency. So it is issued by the ECCD Council through the Executive Director. So centralized po yung ating database kung sino yung mga qualified at sino yung mga certified na external evaluators. And take note, once na sinabit po siya sa ECCD Council for conferment, yun yung una-una natin tinitingnan. Yung pirma ng evaluator. Yung bang evaluator na nag-process nito is certified by the ECCD Council. Kasi kung hindi po certified, hindi natin itutuloy yung process of reviewing and conferment of their recognition. Okay? So, malinaw po dapat yon. And sino yung iba pang mga creditors, the members or the evaluators, the city municipal social welfare development officer, then administrator, director, principal for private. But we also include, kasi since naintindihan natin na yung mga MSCS and PSWDOs natin, they're very busy kasi this is just one of the many responsibilities na meron sila for the local government unit. Kaya, we also include, we accept yung mga ECCD focal person or other trained or hired po ng local government as part of their evaluators. So, kailangan tayo po, compliant na tayo doon, and we will assist you in the process of your recognition or the evaluation of your centers. So you just need to follow the guideline, you coordinate with the field offices of the DSWD wherein your LGU is located. So kailangan talaga na makapag-comply tayo doon. That's why we have this orientation. So the implementation scheme, ito yung ginagawa natin, orientation pareho by ECCD Council, the DSWD, through the provincial, the city, the municipal, and then yung GOCCs and GAs and private. Again, just a review, our process, we have the registration, permit to operate, then granting of recognition. So I hope we are guided with this session on how we're going to prepare our center on the process of evaluating for recognition. As a concluding statement, I'd like to share you another quotation from Villa Foster. It says here, "Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent decision, and skillful execution." Thank you very much and have a good day.
informative presentation. For our next presenter, let me introduce Ms. Remelin Malakilla, our Program Development Officer 3 from the Programs and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. She will explain to us the competency standards for child development teachers and child development workers.
Good day to everyone. This will be the last topic for these sessions. And to continue the discussions, I'm Ms. Remelin M. Manakilla, Program Development Officer in the Program and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. We will talk about competency standards for child development teachers and child development workers. This document is developed by the ECCD Council in partnership with UNICEF. Their competence as other service provider will be helpful in ensuring quality programs and services for our very young children. Service providers will include child development teachers, child development workers, volunteers, teacher aides, and other individuals who are involved in the delivery of quality. Good day to everyone. This will be the last topic for these sessions. And to continue the discussions, I'm Ms. Remelin M. Manakilla, Program Development Officer in the Program and Policy Unit of the ECCD Council. We will talk about competency standards for child development teachers and child development workers. This document is developed by the ECCD Council in partnership with UNICEF. Their competence as other service provider will be helpful in ensuring quality programs and services for our very young children. Service providers will include child development teachers, child development workers, volunteers, teacher aides, and other individuals who are involved in the delivery of quality ECCD programs and services in terms of health, nutrition, early education, and social services. The rationale behind the competency standards for child development teachers and child development workers is the need for competent teachers who can deliver quality early child care and development. Access to early child care and development means assurance of quality service delivery. And lastly, this can only happen if all early educators, including parents and caregivers, will possess the basic requirements and perform the standards and competencies expected of them. Our goal for the competency standards is to ensure that all child development teachers and child development workers and other service providers have developed and demonstrated the necessary knowledge, skills, and attitudes to meet children's developmental needs and deliver high-quality early childhood programs for all children from birth to 4 years old. Quality ECCD programs depends greatly on the quality of the interactions between the child and the teacher. Here you can see the framework of competency standards with its mission and vision. For holistic approach, this covers 7 domains such as child growth, development and learning, health, nutrition, safety and well-being, curriculum, learning environment and experiences, assessment and reporting, family involvement and community linkages, na ito po ang pinakamahalaga na isinasama natin ang ating pamilya tulad ng mga magulang at komunidad para sa pag-unlad ng ating mga bata. And we also include the personal and professional development of our service providers. When you talk about standards, this describes the knowledge, skills, values that characterize good teaching practice or effective teaching. Competencies focus on what educators need to know and be able to do to demonstrate that they are well-rounded and well-prepared to educate and care for young children. All in all, in these 7 domains, we have 10 standards and 75 competencies. At ito na rin po ang ginamit nating basis on the self-assessment tool on teaching competencies for child development teachers and child development workers. Ang mahalaga po sa self-assessment tool na ito ay nakasulat po siya into task para po malaman ng ating mga teachers at ating mga workers kung ano ang kanilang nalalaman o kung ano ang dapat nilang gawin sa pagpapaunlad at pagpapalago ng ating mga bata. Kasama po nito ay nagkakaroon sila ng opportunity to evaluate and chart their progress. This serves as a functional basis and planning and implementations of appropriate technical assistance to be given to them. Meaning, ito rin po ang inyong magiging basihan sa pagre-request ng kanilang mga trainings. With this, we can easily determine whether they are beginner, performer, or skilled. So meaning, beginner, they have started to do the task but needs assistance. Performer, they can do the task well. So ito po yung gusto natin, yung skilled. They are confident to do the task and can assist others as well. So we have the same domains in the self-assessment tool and the competency standards. Here's a sample of the self-assessment tool. As mentioned, the result of the self-assessment tool will serve as the basis for the provision of technical assistance. And I would like also to emphasize that the result is not intended to use for promotion. For the technical assistance, this is anchored on the belief that each organization is responsible for its own growth and development. It is aligned with the organization's vision, mission, and organization's needs. It is an ongoing, systematic, and interactive process that is designed to achieve results. The goal for the technical assistance is to help solve problems. So basically, dito natin makikita or mas madali nating ma-identify ngayon kung anong trainings ang pwede nating ibigay sa ating mga teachers at ating mga workers. So dito din, makikita natin kung nag-level up ba sila from beginner to performer and to skilled. And dito, makakakuha tayo ng magandang resulta at pwede rin itong maging basihan sa paggawa ng ating mga pulisiya. For the training frameworks, we have 3 tiers. Tier 1, this is the local government-initiated training in the city, municipal, or provincial base, like conferences, workshops, inductions, and orientations. This may also include other service providers working or supporting CDTs and CDWs. For Tier 2, this is institutions-based. One of the sample is the ECCD Council initiated training on early childhood education program. This is customized training for CDTs and CDWs that credit 18 units under Master of Arts in Early Childhood Education in partnership with state universities. For Tier 3, this is one-on-one training like mentoring or coachings and advising. For your guidance, here is the technical assistance mechanism flow, starting from needs assessment to planning and implementation. For easier planning, we prepared technical assistance plan template for you. For more information on the competency standards, you can visit our website at www.eccdcouncil.gov.ph. Just click download and resources. Thank you.
Enlightening presentation. Now we can move on to our Q&A. Any questions that you might have are welcome now. So you may type in your questions in the Q&A box for those in Zoom. And for those who are in Facebook Live, just type it in the comment section. We are actually anticipating a lot of questions coming in from both Zoom and Facebook. So we will try to cluster all of your questions into themes so that we may be able to respond to all of them. May we also invite our presenters, Sir Carl and Ms. Melin, to join our panel for the Q&A. Okay, we have here our first question from Ms. Felicissima Maan Velasco Clemeno. I hope I got your name correct. Sir Carl, it's for you. Before DepEd kami and we have NKP before, we will have to wait after 3 years ulit to apply.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much, Miss Jolly. I think this question came from a private learning center or a private school. Again, I'd like to refer you to or get back to the process of registration, granting of permit to operate, and recognition. It says there that if you are newly established center, you need to have 3 years prior to your application for recognition. But if your center is operational for more than 3 years, hindi na po kailangan maghintay ng 3 taon para makapag-apply kayo for recognition to be evaluated.
Okay, there's another question. I think this is for Ms. Milin. Is it possible to have a copy of the requirements of the recognition?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this question, Ms. Jadi. Actually, you can have a copy of this document in our official website. You may visit our website through www.eccdcouncil.gov.ph, and you may click the resources and downloads. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Milian. This is from Rodel Loveres. Good afternoon, everyone. May I ask if pwede pa rin maging member ng external ang on-call deputized accreditor? This is for Sir Carl.
Yes. So long as you're deputized by the DSWD field office and certified by the ECCD Council through a certificate of proficiency.
Okay, I think this is as a follow-up question from the earlier private school inquiry from Danielle Izra Anyoso. Many private schools were given government recognition for providing NKP, which is nursery, kindergarten, and preparatory education. Ano po ang mangyayari sa mga recognition na ito? Are these recognitions deemed revoked and or amended?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Daniel Ezra. So I'd like to qualify this question. Kasi since the passage of RA 10410, the ECCD program, particularly 0 to 4, is now lodged to the ECCD Council, and the program is implemented in the local government unit. So in terms of recognizing or granting of permit to operate to private schools, it is now under the responsibility of the local government unit. So it's not revoked, but it's repealed already due to the the passage of RA 10410. So for assistance, the ECCD Council will revalidate these recognitions issued by the Department of Education. So what you need to do is to write a letter of intent addressed to the Executive Director of the ECCD Council requesting for revalidation of your recognition issued by the Department of Education. And also, it has to be mentioned that there is a pre-key program for us to be able to revalidate that issued recognition.
Okay, I think this next question is somehow related. This is from John Joby Bongon. Do we still need to undergo assessment and validation if we already have government recognition from DepEd for pre-elementary level?
Okay, another thing that that needs to be clarified: the recognition issued by the Department of Education is more likely the permit to operate that we have in our standards and guidelines. The recognition we're using as a terminology for this evaluation is the quality assurance. So if you're asking if there is a need na ma-assess pa yung inyong mga centers, yes. If you want to have a recognition, recognition is as mentioned kanina doon sa lecture natin na ito yung term na ginagamit natin for accreditation nung time na mapasa yung standards and guidelines through a board resolution by the ECCD Council Governing Board. So, ang ginagamit natin to evaluate for quality assurance is recognition.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question from Jennifer Maria Abenido. Do you have an update regarding the memo from the SWD that it will now be the ECCD Council which will conduct the recognition process? This will take effect when po?
Yes, another thing that you want to clarify regarding this question, wala po tayong binabagong process. Wala tayong binabagong standards and guidelines. Kasi mula po nung maipasa yung ating standards and guidelines and yung guidelines for granting of for registration, granting of permit and recognition noong 2015 through a board resolution, yun na po ang susundin nating guidelines. And in the guidelines po, malinaw na ang proseso natin ay dadaan pa din sa DSWD field offices. And nagkaroon po ng meeting recently with DSWD Central Office, including their Undersecretary, Assistant Secretary, Bureau Director, and Assistant Bureau Director of the Standards Bureau, na ang agreement is we will follow the law. And our standards and guidelines is in accordance sa ating batas. Kaya yun po yung susundin natin. Same process po ang susundin natin na ang letter of intent is to the ECCD Council through the DSWD field offices. And it's the responsibility po ng field offices na mag-organize at mag-coordinate para po sa request and processing ng recognition ng ating mga child development centers, learning centers, both public and private. So yun po.
Okay, another question. Sir Carl, how many years po ba bago ma-expire ang permit ng isang daycare center or CDC?
Ayan, sa ating pong, again, sa ating guidelines, 3 years po kung makapag-comply kayo doon sa basic requirements. Yung basic requirements po, naka-append po siya doon sa ating document na pwede nyong i-download sa ECCD Council website at www.ecccouncil.gov.ph. So makikita nyo po doon na pag compliant sila, 3 years po ang i-issue ng local government. Pagka non-compliant, temporary permit po ang ibibigay for 1 year.
Okay, next question. Kapag hindi pa po expired ang Certificate of Accreditation issued by DSWD, valid pa rin po ba kahit meron na po itong bagong tool?
Those accreditation nung 2021, yun po ang i-accept natin. So kung ang validity niya is for 3 years, so abot siya hanggang 2024, I think. So we will still accept that. But those na na-accredit ng 2022, yun po yung hindi natin na i-accept na results.
Okay, it says here, Sir Carl, tama po ba na hindi na pwedeng gamitin ng AO15 tool ngayon para sa mga magpapa-assess?
Yes, tama po. Opo. Again, yun nga, since ang inaccept na po natin is hanggang 2021. But meron po tayong mga there were process na accreditation using the AO15 ng 2022. So another agreement during the meeting with the DSWD Central Office is we will revalidate this accreditation results to the evaluation tool of recognition para po yung hindi masayang yung effort both ng field office, ng mga evaluators at ng ating mga local government unit para mapakinabangan po yung pag-evaluate. And yun naman din yung agreement na hindi siya for the purpose na pahirapan yung mga LGUs, but so that maintindihan natin kung paano tayo magko-comply with the recognition indicators. Again, to ensure that we are providing quality programs to our children at the local level.
All right. Next question, pwede na po ba namin i-process ang mga private learning centers na may permit to operate para sa kanilang recognition? At kung mayor po din ba ang gagawa ng letter of intent para sa kanila?
Again, gusto ko lang po i-clarify na wag natin i-mix up yung permit to operate sa recognition. Iba yung recognition kasi before sa DepEd. Kasi sa DepEd, it's some sort of permit to operate. But here in our guideline, iba ang operational definition ng recognition. It's same as with the accreditation wherein we're evaluating the centers for quality assurance. So magkaiba yung process niya. The permit to operate, ito yung ginagamit natin na parang business permit. Ang kaibahan lang, ang chine-check dito is yung compliance doon sa basic requirements for establishing centers. Okay, yung private learning centers. So ang permit to operate, nag-expire siya for 3 years. Yung recognition, ina-apply siya, voluntary yung ating recognition. So once mag-apply ka, i-apply mo to sa local government unit. Para po sa mga private schools, may payment po kasi yung application for recognition. May 500 po na fee. Magbabayad kayo sa local, sa LGU. And then, yung tanong nyo po na mayor din ba, since sa inyo po nag-apply sa local government, mayor po talaga ang maggagawa ng letter of intent. Parang pareho lang ng application for the public na ipapadala po pareho sa central office.
Okay, the next question from an anonymous attendee. Good afternoon po. Ano po ang qualifications para maging isang evaluator?
Ayan. Okay, ang qualification natin for an evaluator, first is you have an experience po pagdating sa handling ng children and ECCD programs at the local level. And then you're trained by pwedeng ECCD Council or pwede din po na DSWD Central Office or Field Office in the utilization of our evaluation tool. So, yun naman, you just have to have the capacity of an evaluator. And syempre, you are endorsed or deputized by the DSWD Field Office. At hindi din po natin tinatanggap as external evaluator yung mga teaching staff. So dapat po non-teaching staff yung i-endorse para maging part of the pool of external evaluators.
Okay, next question from Mr. Aris Panganiban. Good afternoon. Ask ko lang po kung mag-provide ba ang ECCD Council and Training for external assessment?
Actually, we're giving trainings. The ECCD Council nagbibigay po ng training. But for now,
sobrang dami na din po ng line up na mga programs, projects, and other trainings ng ECCD Council. So, pwede kayong mag-send sa amin ng invitation for training, pero hindi din sigurado kung kailan talaga. Hindi namin masasabi na yung date na i-request nyo is yung date na maibibigay namin sa inyo. But we will discuss this with the Executive Committee of the ECCD Council since tulad ngayon, madami talagang need to provide training and madagdagan, ma-augment yung pool of external evaluators natin. So we'll just keep you posted regarding this matter, kung ano yung magiging decision, ano yung magiging recommendation and plan. Pero definitely, we will provide assistance para doon sa mga external evaluators para madagdagan po. Para siyempre maging maayos yung processing natin, yung pag-evaluate para doon sa recognition ng mga centers.
Okay, this next question is from Ms. Heidi Suelo. Ask lang po namin, need po ba talaga na maglabas ng sariling pera ang mga CDW para sa ikagaganda ng room nila para sa accreditation?
I think very subjective yung question kasi it's the decision. Wala naman tayong policy or guideline regarding that. Mm-hmm. So it's the decision of the child development worker or child development teacher.
Another from an anonymous attendee, is the Parent-Teacher Association really a requirement? What will happen if the institution does not have one?
The question is if need ng Parent-Teacher Association. I think that's very important to have an association of the parents and the teachers. Again, lalo na pagdating sa program for ECCD. Kasi dahil bata pa sila, napakahalaga na ang natututo kung paano nila palalakihin, paano nila aalagaan, at paano nila arugain yung mga bata ay yung mga magulang. So, kasi pag tinignan natin in the centers, 2 to 3 hours. So, yung mga ginagawa natin sa centers, pag hindi naiintindihan ng mga magulang, medyo mahina yung reinforcement of the things na gusto nating maituro sa mga bata. And ganun din, vice versa. Mahirap din kasi kung hindi naiintindihan o hindi nakakakwentuhan ng mga teachers, yung mga magulang, pagdating doon sa development ng mga anak nila, pagdating doon sa behavior ng mga anak nila. That's why it's very important na meron tayong Parent Teachers Association kasi ang main purpose nito is to provide information both sa side ng parent at sa side ng teacher in order to really scaffold and facilitate the development of their child or children.
Okay, next question is from Ms. Nancy Ilagan, an ECCD focal of Quezon Province. I would like to inform you that we have trained all our CDWs, which is around 1,400, on the assessment tool for the recognition. My question is about informing the PLCs province-wide. I have coordinated with SDS DepEd Quezon and they were saying that wala pong order sa kanila ang DepEd region tungkol dito.
Can we be more clear on the question kung ano yung hinihingi nila na information about this? Miss Nancy?
Okay, sige. Maybe later on, Ms. Nancy will clarify her question. So let's move on to the next. Paano naman po yung dati nang established yung center tapos bago pa lamang ang worker? Mag-aantay pa din po ba ng 3 years?
The worker has nothing, the length of the service of the worker has nothing to do with the length of the establishment of the center. Okay? Kasi when we assess centers is kasama po prerequisite yung child development worker. or the child development teacher. Ang tinitingnan natin dito is the capacity, whether 6 months ba yan, 1 year ba yan in service. But ang tinitingnan natin yung capacity niya, yung qualification niya, and also yung binibigay ng service provider doon sa mga workers nila. So hindi necessary na kailangan sabay yung length of year ng service ni child development worker saka doon sa center pagka i-evaluate nyo na siya for recognition. Pero kasi the reason why for private learning centers, binibigyan natin sila ng 3 years before sila mag-apply for recognition so that they can prepare. Kasi since newly established pa lang naman yung center, meron silang 3 years to prepare yung kanilang mga requirements before we evaluate them.
A question here says, paano po pag di naka-attend ng training si team leader or the PSWDO for external assessment?
Again, yung question is hindi ko din alam kung paano siya sasagutin. Kasi kung hindi siya maka-attend, if you're referring to meron bang ibang mag-a-assess? Yes, of course. Merong ibang pwedeng mag-assess. Pero yun yung sinasabi natin, if it's an external evaluator and siya yung mag-evaluate ng mga centers at wala siya doon sa database natin sa ECCD Council of certified external evaluators, we will not consider the document for conferment sa recognition. So, not necessarily si PS yung kailangang matrain para may external evaluator. Kasi naiintindihan po natin na napakalaki ng responsibility na meron sila sa kanilang local government. Kaya pwedeng magpadala ng representative like the ECCD focal so long as may capacity sila to become an evaluator. And they're really exposed and meron silang malawak na pangunawa doon sa ini-implement na program sa local government.
Okay, next question from Ms. Christine Nobleza. Does it mean that centers offering NKP will need 2 recognition for their programs or center? Does it mean that centers offering NKP
Ayan. Sorry for the technical glitch. So may I request Ms. Jolly to repeat the question?
Okay, sorry about that. From Christine Nobleza, does it mean that centers offering NKP will need 2 recognition for their programs?
Yes, of course. Kailangan po ng recognition kasi yun po uulit-ulitin ko for the private schools kasi naintindihan ko na medyo naiba kasi yung term na ginagamit ng recognition ng DepEd has a different operational definition dito sa term na ginagamit ng recognition ngayon sa ECCD. Ang recognition po natin naglalapse yung validity. If you are recognized for level 1, that is valid for 3 years. If you are recognized for 4 years, for level 2, that is valid for 4 years. If your recognition is level 3, that is valid for 5 years. So once na mag-lapse po itong validity na to, you need to reapply for another evaluation for recognition. Okay? Yung recognition na nire-revalidate po natin na ini-issue ng DepEd before is for you to operate. Kaya po yun sinasabi natin, it's the same as the permit to operate na meron tayo ngayon sa ating guidelines. So again, yun po, nililinaw natin na magkaiba yung recognition na inisyu ng Department of Education before doon sa recognition na meron tayo for ECCD standards. So nawa po maging malinaw siya to us all, particularly the private, kasi yung private po yung nakaka-receive ng recognition issued by the Department of Education.
Okay, thank you, Sir Carl. From Ms. Angeline Aviles, regarding the ILG, yung sa assessments nila like CFLGA and SGLG, since recognition na po yung gagamitin ng term instead of accreditation, i-adapt na rin po ba nila yon?
Yes po, nag-issue na po 'di ba ng memo ang DILG kasi in the revised handbook for child-friendly local governance audit, it's clearly stated in the indicator under the development that the accreditation is the recognition issued by the ECCD Council. So in compliance to that revised handbook for child-friendly local governance audit, we just reiterated that, and a memo was released by the Department of Interior and Local Government to the local government units.
Okay, from Rosario Cadalieno, can we use the ECCD checklist to show a parent that a child needs further evaluation for assessment for developmental problems like autism, ADHD?
So for this one, the ECCD checklist is not intended to assess if there is a disability or inability to the child. The purpose of the ECCD checklist is to see the development of the child, whether the child is developing adequately or not. So it's not a tool for us to determine whether the child has defect or disability. Yes, we can share the result of the ECCD checklist to the parents. But again, let's be careful when we share. We cannot label na dahil may nakita tayo na suggested na delays in development doon sa ECCD checklist, sabihin na, oh, may delays yung anak mo. Kasi iba yung definition ng delays in development ni ECCD checklist at iba din yung definition ng delays in development into a child with developmental delays. Okay? So para mas maintindihan natin, si ECCD checklist is providing a suggestion na meron tayong dapat tutukan doon sa development ng bata. Pero it doesn't necessarily mean na ito na yung condition na we will label na kung ano yung disability ng bata. Pero napaka-importante po na you discuss this with parents. Okay? Kasi baka minsan ang concern is yung ibang hindi na di-develop ng bata, like for example, yung development of fine motor skills, mga ganyan, baka kasi yung activity din ng bata, yung day-to-day activity niya, hindi siya nagpo-provide ng opportunity para ma-develop yung kanyang mga fine motor skills. Okay? Yung language din, yung development ng language ng bata, for example, hindi din kasi, halimbawa, nagkakaroon ng opportunity yung bata na alam mo yun, yung ma-develop yung kanyang language sa day-to-day activity niya. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga concerns doon if yung activity hindi nagagawa. Kaya nagkakaroon din ng development, hindi siya umaakma sa edad. So, yun. I hope that helps you.
Yes, thank you, Sir Carl. Okay, so next question, clarification lang po. ECCD Council po ba mismo ang mag-evaluate para sa recognition ng mga CDCs para sa external assessment?
Yun po, maganda na binabalik-balikan natin yung proseso. When we talk of ECCD Council, this composed of different national agencies. So we have the Department of Education, We have the Department of Health, we have the Department of Social Welfare and Development, the DSWD, you have the NNC, you have the ECCD Council, Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines, and one private practitioner. So since DSWD is part of the council, they're still part of the process. So when we talk of the ECCD Council. So ang process natin, again, ang pag-facilitate is through the field offices. Ang magko-confer po ng recognition is the executive director of the ECCD Council. Before kasi ang ating accreditation is nasa regional level. So it was conferred by the regional directors of the DSWD field offices. But sa ating guideline ngayon, centralized po siya na ECCD Council Executive Director po. So magkaiba po yon, yung processing of evaluation of visiting centers nasa field office po, and then doon sa mga provincial level hanggang doon sa municipality city. Yung conferment po ang umaakyat sa ECCD Council. But in terms of capacity building and technical assistance in ensuring that we are evaluating in accordance with the guidelines, it's the responsibility po of the ECCD Council. Okay po? So ito po yung parang lines or levels ng pag-process natin.
Okay, so it says here, Sir Carl, ibig ba sabihin yung mga na-accredit last 2022 ay hindi valid at uulitin ba ang kanilang accreditation?
Ayan, this was mentioned already a while ago, but to clarify this thing, yung mga 2022 po na result, since nagkaroon na tayo ng advisory regarding this, yung 2022 result, i-revalidate po natin using the recognition evaluation tool. So we will coordinate with the Provincial Social Welfare Development Offices sa ating mga PSWDOs para mas mapadali natin yung processing nitong revalidation of the 2022 result of accreditation using the AO15. Ayan, kasi hindi lang naman ang tinitingnan natin is not just the certificates, but our primary purpose is to ensure that we really upgrade and upgraded and updated yung need ng mga bata in terms of leveling the standards that is required para masabi natin na we are really providing them with quality ECCD programs. Kaya talagang tinitingnan natin kasi that is our mandate. Our mandate is to upgrade and update itong mga programs natin. Okay? So I hope na yun pa rin yung primary purpose. And naiintindihan natin na yung effort kasi na ginawa natin in preparing our centers. Kaya nga yun din yung agreement during the meeting with the DSWD Central Office na magtutulungan tayo to assist our local government unit to comply with this quality standards that we have right now.
Okay, this is a follow-up question, I think from the previous question, on how to be an evaluator. I think maraming gusto maging evaluator from Southern Luzon, Sir Carl. Saan po namin pwedeng mag-apply and mag-train as an evaluator?
This shall be coordinated with your field offices kasi doon sa guidelines natin nakalagay na deputized by the field offices.
And I think this one is also related. Sino po daw ba ang magpo-provide ng honorarium or subsidy ng evaluators?
This has something to do with the issuance, I think, of the letter or the request of the DSWD to the DBM regarding doon sa transfer of fund for accreditation, the subsidy. So sa ngayon po kasi na wala pa naman transfer na subsidy or na fund sa ECCD Council, and may mga dialogues pa din po na gagawin with the DBM and the DSWD to firm this thing or to fix this concern. Tuloy pa din po yung process natin. Yung pag-facilitate ng evaluation, yung pag-facilitate ng recognition, dire-diretso pa rin po, same process pa din. But yun lang, hindi ko pa rin po din masasagot sa inyo since wala pang ang decision. Kasi ang DSWD naman po talaga, di ba, ang nagbibigay ng subsidy doon sa mga evaluators. So it's the same thing. Kasi ang purpose po natin talaga dito is ma-serve natin yung ating mga kabataan, particularly those children under 0 to 4 years old. So just please bear with us while we're firming things up para dito po sa ating concern na to pagdating sa subsidy.
Okay, for the next one, I don't think this is a question. I think this is a plea. Baka daw pwedeng makonsider yung 1,231 CDWs nila accredited in Region 4A last 2022 using AO15.
Yes po, I think nasagot na to. That is our reconsideration. We will revalidate this. Kasi if hindi siya ma-revalidate, hindi din po siya tatanggapin ng KMS ng CFLG. Kasi nga po yung indicator na nakalagay doon sa ating system and MOV, hindi po pareho. Kaya i-validate natin siya so that itong result nung AO15 mapapakinabangan po natin.
Okay, thank you, Sir Carl. The next question, when organizing the external assessment team, kailangan po ba na may present po na representative from the regional or provincial social welfare and development office to serve as a team leader? Or would it be all right if all the external assessment team members are from the MCSWDOs?
Yes, if during the evaluation, so long as it's coordinated and organized by the field office po, no problem.
Next question, ask ko lang po kung marirecognize po ba ang center or and CDW may additional allowances or salary galing sa TSWD or ECCD office?
Wala po.
Okay. Very straightforward, Sir Carl. Okay, paano daw po pag-recognize na at biglang nagbago ang kapitan ng barangay at aalisin ang CDW? Ano po ang pwedeng gawin ng worker?
Ayan. Sa ngayon po kasi talagang the program based on RA 7160, yung devolution code, nasa local government po talaga ang implementation ng programs for ECCD. And sa ngayon talagang we are at the mercy of our barangay captains whether ma-retain or not. Kaya nga po isinusulong yung batas ngayon, yung Magna Carta for Child Development Workers, and just actually yesterday there's a committee hearing with Senator Amy Marcos na isinusulong to so that magkaroon ng security talaga yung ating mga child development workers. But for now, hindi kasi natin siya masigurado. Although there are some local government na part or one of their best practices is meron silang ordinansa na pagka nagpalit yung barangay captain, hindi pwedeng tanggalin yung child development worker. So I don't know kung paano nila ginawa kasi syempre hindi naman directly under ang barangay doon sa mayor. So pero doon sa LGU na yon nagwo-work siya kaya hindi nagiging problem sa kanila lalo na pag may mga barangay elections. Nare-retain pa rin yung mga child development workers kasi nga nasasayang yung investment doon sa pagtitrain sa kanila tapos mapapalitan lang na mapapalitan every time na hindi magugustuhan ng mga ibang na-elect na mga barangay chairpersons.
Okay, the next question, ang trained staff or focal ng FO, pwede pa ba mag-conduct ng orientation on the new guidelines and NELC? Or dapat po ba si ECCD Council na ang mag-orient?
Yes, if the FO has the capacity to orient, mas maganda po kasi syempre hindi naman talaga siya kaya lahat ng national government, particularly the ECCD secretariat, the office. Hindi namin kaya lahat i-conduct yung training for everybody. Maganda na katuwang natin ang madami tayong katuwang like the field offices, even the central office kasi marami tayo diyan ng mga pool of trainers. So long as pare-pareho yung ating tono, pare-pareho yung ating principles and philosophy pagdating doon sa kung ano yung ituturo natin, kung ano yung training design and training content, particularly in the utilization of the National Early Learning Curriculum and the standards and guidelines. So yun naman yung requirements natin na tama siya doon sa kung ano yung documents na meron tayo.
Next question, I think this is a concern from a private school. What if hindi daw po mag-comply ang mga private schools? Ano daw po ang action na gagawin ng LGU?
Ayan, since nasa batas po, merong pwedeng i-adapt ng local government yung ating guidelines. Like for example, yung pag-secure ng permit to operate. So kung halimbawang hindi mag-secure ng permit to operate yung private school, lalabas po silang kolorum na eskwelahan. So pwedeng i-sanction siya ng local government. But sa guidelines natin kasi wala siyang sanction. So sa pag-adapt siya ng local government unit, dun sila pwede maglagay ng sanction. But for recognition or accreditation, voluntary ito. So ang private school, pwede silang hindi magpa-recognize kung hindi nila gusto. Kaya lang, yun nga, hindi makakasiguro din yung ating mga magulang na maganda yung kalidad ng center kasi syempre, I don't know, yung reason nila ba't hindi sila nagpapa-recognize.
Okay, so next question, paano po kapag old tool pa din ang ginamit pero 2024 pa ma-expire ang license, need na rin po ba nilang i-re-evaluate?
I guess this has been answered already. Basta 2021 po yung validity niya, kung ilang taon maki-consider po. Basta 2021 siya na issue, but for 2022 hindi na po.
Okay, I hope this is clear already. Next question, are we allowed to use the ECCD logo for all the reports and forms that we are going to use?
Ayan, I think depende po kung saan natin gagamitin. Well, the ECCD logo is logo natin. Basta yung programa is hindi siya for the purpose of business or any profitable na engagement. So may guidelines tayo. I think we'll just update you with the guidelines on the usage of the ECCD logo. Kasi the ECCD logo is intended for ECCD programs. Okay, so yun po. Basta hindi siya pang negosyo.
Okay, thank you, Sir Carl. This question is from Ms. Joy from PSWDO. Ask ko lang po, last year po kasi ay nag-train kami as assessor. I think she's asking kung yung certificate, I think she has not received her certificate yet. Kanina daw po siya magtatanong.
Good afternoon. Actually, pag yung training nyo is, ang nag-conduct po is from field offices, aantayin lang po namin mai-transfer po ito sa amin or maipadala para po doon po kami magbe-base para po magawan po kayo ng certificate of proficiency. Yun po.
Okay, so next question. Ask ko lang po if there's already a letter or advisory sent to the ILG or LGUs that external assessment is considered as an official business. Kasi one of the difficulties po in organizing the external assessment team is their availability during the weekdays. They would usually request na weekend po ang evaluation nila. However, as much as possible, we do not want to disrupt the daily activities of the children. Kaya po, preferred namin that the external assessment will be conducted on a weekday.
See po, we will raise this concern. Pero wala pa pong issuance of memo or an advisory regarding this.
Okay. So next, as a new tool po ba ang mag-hire sa CDWS ay mayor na po?
Same. There are CDWs na hina-hire ng city or municipality. There are CDWs naman na nasa barangay level. Depende doon sa dynamics and capacity of the local government unit and yung agreement. Kasi iba-iba yung implementation. Pero it's not limited to whether it's the mayor or the barangay. Although in our guidelines, nakalagay kasi yung hiring through the local government unit. So when we talk of local government unit, so nasa ano yan? From province hanggang barangay.
Okay, so yung mga interested daw maging evaluator, Sir Carl, ano daw po ba ang course na dapat natapos para maging evaluator?
Wala naman na necessarily na or particular course para to become an evaluator. Basta yun natin, may experience sila in the ECCD program or pwedeng naging former child development worker or daycare worker. So long as they have the capacity to become an evaluator, kasi magkakandak din tayo ng training for them para maging external evaluator.
Okay. Are there any more questions? I don't see any more questions coming out of the chat box. Oo, kasi I think same questions, no? All right. So I guess if you want more answers to your queries, we can gather all your questions, no? And these will be posted on our website and Facebook page. Or you can send all your queries to our very responsive help desk. Rest assured that we will respond as soon as possible. So I get, yes, Sir Carl, do you have
Nag-reason po talaga ako.
okay.
May nakita na ko sa question. This is the last question siguro na maganda i-address na natin. There's a question here. For clarification po, sir, lahat po ba ng daycare worker ay pwede nang tawagin na CDW? The answer is hindi pwede. Kailangan na po na tawagin na child development worker sila. Kailangan na po kasi in the law, it says that daycare workers herein after to referred as child development workers. So tapos na yung term na tinatawag silang daycare worker according to RA 10.410. Tinatawag na po silang child development worker. So kailangan na po silang tawaging child development worker. And again, thank you very much, Ayan, for being with us. And thank you, Teacher Jolly. Back to you.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, we would like to remind everyone that there's an evaluation form that will be sent. A link will be sent, posted in our Facebook page. So just click on that link so that you will get your certificate of participation. Before we end, we would like to thank our presenters, our organizers, and of course, all our participants. We appreciate all of you being here, and we hope that you have learned a lot in today's orientation. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.